Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards, with your host, Mel Blackmore.
If you're listening to this podcast, then you're in great company. We've got thousands of listeners who have a thirst for continuous improvement and raising standards in business. Whether your interest is in quality, sustainability, or risk standards, I'd love to welcome you as a member to our online platform for all things ISO, the ISOlogy Hub. The ISOlogy Hub is the leading place to get access to all of your online resources, from in-depth training courses, through to our very popular coffee break training, to templates and action plans and many other resources to help raise standards. As a member, you get access to over 100 courses, taking you from learner to practitioner to leader. The ISOlogy Hub has all the resources that you need, which will really help to make your life easier and to help improve compliance in those business critical areas. So if you'd like access to learning and compliance resources ranging from data privacy to environmental management, anti-bribery, business continuity, quality, health and safety, to name just but a few, the list is endless actually, then we'd love for you to come and join us. Just head over to the isologyhub.com.
Hello, and welcome to the ISO Show. Regular listeners of the ISO Show may be familiar with my voice, as I'm not the typical host of the podcast, but I have filled in for a few previous episodes. I'm Steph Churchman, and I'm the Communications Manager here at Blackmores. I'm usually the one behind the scene doing all the editing and publishing of the show, but Mel's taking a small break this week. She'll be back to hosting as usual next week, though. Moving on to the topic for today's episode, we're revisiting the recently published AI management standard ISO 42001. If you'd like to learn more about the standard itself, you can go back and listen to episode 166, where we explained why the standard was created and gave you an insight to its structure and how it can help businesses manage AI risks. In today's episode, I'll be covering the top 10 reasons to use ISO 42001. So let's dive right in with number 1. ISO 42001 helps to demonstrate responsible use of AI. ISO 42001 helps ensure fairness, non-discrimination, and respect for human rights in AI development and use. Remember, AI can still be biased based on the fact that a lot of AI models are typically trained on existing data, so any existing bias will carry over into those AI models. An example of this is the existing lack of representation for minority groups. We also need to take care in the use of AI over people, as staff being replaced by AI is a very real concern and should not be treated lightly. We've already seen a few cases where this has happened, especially across the tech support field, where some companies mistakenly think that a chatbot can replace all human staff. In fact, Air Canada did just this, and it resulted in a lawsuit, as its chatbot wrongly instructed a customer who was subsequently refused a refund after following the chatbot's instructions. Suffice to say, Air Canada lost the lawsuit and had to issue a refund. They also promptly shut down the chatbot. We also need to consider the ethics of AI content. It's been predicted that 90% of online content will be AI generated by 2026. That's just 2 years away, and I don't know about you, but that thought is as staggering as it is terrifying. A lot of this generated content includes things like images, which poses a real concern over the values we're translating to people. The content we consume shapes the way we think, and if all we have is artificial, then what message is that conveying? An example of this is Dove's recent advert, which showed an example of the AI-generated images of very unobtainable ideals of a beautiful face, which were predictably absolutely flawless, almost inhuman, and something that can only be achieved through photo editing. If the internet was flooded with this sort of imagery, then that starts to become the expectation to live up to, which can be tremendously damaging to people's self-esteem. They then went on to show actual unedited people in all their varied and wonderful glory, and stated that they will never use AI imagery in any of their future marketing or promotional material. And this sends a very strong message. AI definitely has its place, but we need to fully consider the implications and consequences of its use and possible oversaturation. Number 2. Traceability, transparency, and reliability. Information sourced via AI is not always correct. It collates information that's been published online, and as many of us are aware, not everything on the internet is correct or accurate. Datasets carelessly scraped from online sources may also contain sensitive or unsavory content. We've had cases where people have managed to quote-unquote break ChatGPT, causing it to spew out nonsense answers which also contain sensitive information such as health data and personal phone numbers. While not usually accessible when requested, it does not stop the risk of this data being dug up through exploits. AI is like any other technology, and it's not infallible. So it's up to developers to ensure that the data used to train these models is safe and appropriate for use. It should be expected that these datasets will be scrutinized from a legal standpoint, either as a result of the misuse of AI or a mandatory exercise as part of future legislation. There's also research that suggests datasets can be potentially poisoned to produce inaccurate results, which is another consideration for developers using live datasets, who will need to stay on top of these risks to ensure the integrity of their tools. ISO 42001 provides specific guidance that covers how developers can ensure transparency and explainability within sample training data. Moving on to number 3. It's a framework for managing risks and opportunities. AI, like any new technology, is going to create new risks and opportunities. Risks include the likes of inaccurate data being used, existing bias in data training sets, plagiarism, information security risks, and data poisoning. Plagiarism in particular is hitting some sectors hard. For example, teachers are now having to be very wary of students' work as there is a possibility that they could have used AI to write an essay. So they're becoming very familiar with the tools used to check for AI use and plagiarism. If you're simply using AI to gather information, it's also a good exercise to ensure that the information is coming from a reliable source. One easy way to do this is to simply ask for the source to be cited when plugging in a prompt into tools like ChatGPT and Gemini. You can then verify for yourself how legitimate that source is. For web developers and SEO specialists, Google has recently updated its algorithm to punish those with a lot of AI-generated content on their websites. So those within the SEO space may see some interesting trends over the course of 2024. Another unfortunate risk is that of more complex scams being implemented through the use of AI. I'm sure that you've heard that AI voice tools are being used to trick people in various phone scams, where an AI will mimic a family member in distress or a hostage situation to try and bait money out from other family members. It's an absolutely horrid trick that we should see more crackdown on in future. Another potential scam involves those who may use an AI assistant in their own systems, which can be affected by malicious emails that contain prompt injections, which could then be used to send data from a victim's machine to outside sources. Now, this is only touching on a few risks, but as you can see, there's a lot to consider, and I've no doubt that the more complex risks will make themselves known as the technology evolves. However, it's not all doom and gloom. I may sound like an anti-AI advocate, but honestly, I'm really excited to see what it can do. I'd personally just prefer a more cautious approach to its implementation than has been afforded in the last few years. So let's take a look at some of the positives. There's a huge potential for AI to be utilised to tackle mundane and routine tasks, which could be automated. At Blackmores, we use a system called Monday, which acts as our CRM and hub of operations. It's recently adopted various AI tools to help with creating automated processes for updating what we call boards. This has been a massive time saver for those of us who've had to deal with tedious admin. AI also has the capability to scan masses of data and provide suggestions based on its findings. Obviously, humans can't possibly compete with the sheer volume of data that AI can process, so we can utilise it to help us make better, more informed decisions. A lot of commonly used software has already integrated various AI tools which offer great quality of life updates, and they help make a lot of simple tasks quicker, which in turn means our time is better spent elsewhere on tackling the more complex issues that require a more human touch. An example of this for me personally is writing the show notes for these podcasts. I used to have to listen to the podcasts, physically type the notes, and manually align everything with the appropriate timestamps. While a relatively simple task, it did take up a lot of time, but thankfully Word added in an AI transcription tool for pre-recorded content, which provides a full transcript and allows you to add speakers and timestamps automatically. It cut down the show note prep to a fraction of the time it used to take. Now, is this tool perfect? No. It does still translate some things incorrectly, but the mistakes are minor, and it's still a massive time saver regardless. I honestly don't think I could go back to the old method. ISO 42001 can help you balance out these risks and opportunities by helping you build a robust management system to help manage and mitigate risks and drive forward opportunities through continual improvement.
Are you new to ISO standards and want to know what it's all about? Or maybe your company has multiple ISO standards, but there's a lack of engagement and compliance. Whether it's quality, sustainability, or risk standards, the Isology Hub is your one-stop shop for all your online learning resources associated with raising your company's standards. From as little as £99 a month, you can have unlimited access to hundreds of online training courses and achieve certification for completion of courses along the way, which will take you from learner to practitioner to leader in no time. So what courses are in the Hub? Well, there are courses on everything a head of quality, sustainability, information security and health and safety would need to manage compliance and raise standards. With over 100 courses available to you, here are examples of just a few. ISO 9001 Internal Auditor, how to transition to the new ISO 27001 standard, the role of ESG in quality management, and how to integrate management systems. But it's not just courses in the Isology Hub. You can access templates, downloads, and action checklists to take your business to the next level. So why not try the Isology Hub today? Just click on the link at www.isologyhub.com and you'll get access to all our resources within minutes. If you're interested in embedding best practice across your organisation or would like to develop an awareness and training programme for employees, we offer a free learning and development session to tailor a bespoke training programme based on your organisation's needs. So we'd love for you to join as an Isology Hub member. Just head over to isologyhub.com to get access to your unlimited training and compliance resources.
Moving on to number 4. ISO 42001 can demonstrate that introducing AI is a strategic decision with clear objectives. Businesses looking to integrate AI should not make this decision lightly. Tools that you plan to use should be thoroughly researched to ensure they are safe and reliable to use. I know it's tempting to play with the newest toy, but we should take care to look at any possible risks before rushing to utilise something. For example, allowing your staff to use ChatGPT for content creation, you need to consider a few things. Training staff on what they can and can't add in prompts. We've seen cases where people have asked ChatGPT to check coding on unreleased software and applications, which is a big no-no. Anything you feed into AI will be stored and used to train it further. So, you need to make sure staff aren't putting in any confidential or sensitive information into publicly available AI tools. Also ensuring that staff understand the content provided by the likes of ChatGPT and Gemini could be plagiarized if it's used as is. You need to build, adapt, and change the content so it's something unique. It's all well and good introducing AI technology if it truly is going to be beneficial to your employees and to the business as a whole. However, if you're just introducing it because everyone else seems to be, then you really have to question if it's worth it. If it's not actively making your work lives easier and helping you to achieve your objectives, then is it really worth the potential cost and effort to implement? It may also be worth looking into how the AI tool you're using was created. There is sadly still a lot of exploitation involved in the development of new technology, so it's up to you to ensure that the tools you're using were created in an ethical way. This may be a bit of a tangent, but it's slightly related. You may remember when Amazon set up some physical stores where the gimmick was that top-notch AI was tracking what you picked up and charged your account accordingly, essentially meaning that you could go into a store and just pick up what you wanted and then leave without having to pay at a till. It's recently been revealed that this AI technology was in fact reliant on 1,000 people in India painstakingly verifying what people had bought. I'm definitely not saying this is common practice in the AI space. This was a particularly outlandish situation, but it highlights why it's worth spending time researching tools before you jump straight into using them. Ultimately, ensure that you are using AI safely, ethically, and that it aligns with your business's established objectives. This will need to be communicated clearly to everyone in the business. ISO 42001 is, at its heart, a management system standard. Like many other ISO standards, it includes guidance on setting objectives and communicating these to your wider business. Moving on to number 5. ISO 42001 helps to implement safeguards. Certain features of AI may require safeguards to help protect your business against the extra risks they pose, such as the increased potential for more sophisticated cyber attacks or compromised training data. This can be applied within a particular process or the entire system. Examples of features that may require these safeguards include automatic decision-making, data analysis, insight and machine learning, and continuous learning. As I mentioned earlier, cyber scams are going to become a lot more complex with the help of AI, so you need to ensure your staff are both aware of this and how they can avoid falling prey to them. Safeguards may simply involve more training on these new risks, or updating to a more robust security software that is able to detect possible AI cyber scams. Developers are also going to need to keep on top of any data being fed into their tools. Public live data tools especially will be more susceptible to being poisoned and tampered with, so it's up to them to monitor and ensure the integrity of their data. Number 6. ISO 42001 supports compliance with legal and regulatory standards. More AI-focused legislation is an inevitability, with the new EU AI Act being a perfect example. It's important to ensure that you are prepared to comply with legislation as it's released, as you may be held liable and be subject to fines. Currently, the UK has no plans to introduce a new regulator for AI, instead relying on existing technology-based regulators like the Information Commissioner's Office, or ICO, Ofcom and FCA. However, we'll have to see if that stays the case in a few years' time. Number 7. ISO 42001 can help enhance your reputation. ISO standards are internationally recognised and ensure you are complying with best practice. Gaining certification to ISO 42001 will show you are confident in your AI-related claims and are happy to have this verified by a third party. Number 8. Encourage innovation within your business. For as much as we stress the potential risks AI could expose your business to, ultimately AI is here to make our lives easier. We just need to ensure we're responsible when applying it. ISO 42001 ensures you can safely integrate AI tools and systems within your business. It's there to help guide the adoption of this new technology and drive continual improvement as your management system matures. Moving on to number 9. ISO 42001 can easily be integrated with existing management systems. ISO 42001, like many ISO standards, is based on the Annex SL format and can be easily integrated with existing ISO management systems such as ISO 9001, Quality Management, or ISO 27001, Information Security Management. Risks addressed in ISO 42001 include security, privacy, and quality, among others, and can help enhance the effectiveness of your management system in those areas. And finally, number 10. ISO 42001 does not require an existing management system to implement. While ISO 42001 would make a great addition to any ISO management system, it's important to note that this can be implemented independently. It is also not intended to replace or supersede any existing quality, safety, or privacy standards or existing management systems. And that's our top 10 reasons to use ISO 42001. If you'd like to learn more about the standard, we are in the process of creating a suite of ISO 42001 training content for the ISOlogy Hub. If you'd like to get access to this as soon as it becomes available, feel free to register your interest in the form link provided in the show notes. Once registered, you'll be notified as soon as that content becomes available. As always, we'd really appreciate it if you like and subscribe on your preferred media player, and if you have a minute to spare, leave us a nice shiny 5-star review to help our podcast reach a wider audience, so we can continue to share more ISO hints and tips. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch up with you on the next ISO show.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.